Acceleration is a critical component in order to run fast. I do talk about, like the first 3 steps and the first 5 steps and how to be able to optimize that. But really, what ends up being important when it comes to overall acceleration? What are some of the key ranges that you have to be able to get to in order to effectively accelerate? The first one ends up being get your knee in a good height. We want to get our knee up, but we really want to get our knee in, ends up being an important thing here. And when we're going through this, it wants to be more of like an outward projection. We don't want to be thinking too much about going up. It wants to be more of an outward projection of the knee. And when we're doing this, we also want to be able to make sure to get our toe up. This is probably the most common mistake that I see, is I see so many people that come through with their foot and they end up not being able to get the toe up into the air. We got to be able to get your toe up, so then as you're striking the ground, you're able to pull and strike with the foot coming back down. So if we don't get the toe up into a great position, this is actually not a great example here. That one was definitely more down than this one here. If we're not able to get the toe up, then what happens is then we're not able to generate as much force down into the ground. We need to be able to create this little backward force here into the ground in order to really create a great level of turnover. Now, when we're striking the ground, we want to be striking on the inside part of the foot and absorb through the outside part of the foot and really allow the hip to be able to absorb the weight. And the way to be able to do that is if we see the knee go into an external rotation or travel outward, right? So what happens here, and I still absorb probably too much through the ankle, but I still was able to maintain it pretty well, just because you could see how my heel was able to stay up and my knee went into external rotation. So we want to be able to, the best that we can, absorb this weight through the hip. And again, the way to be able to absorb through the hip is to be able to allow your knee to go out to the side here, rather than if you're absorbing through the ankle. And really, you just want to be aware of how you're absorbing the force. So as your foot's hitting the ground, when your foot is absorbing the force, now we're going to see that heel drop down in comparison to when you are able to absorb through the hip and being able to then allow that knee to go outside. Okay, so that's where we want to be able to absorb the forces through the hip and being able to keep that knee coming all the way up and through. And that ends up being really the most important parts, right, is being able to get the knee up, coming inward, right, or really knee in. I always tell guys knee in, toe up. Now, the more effective you can be at this, then the better you're going to be, right? My position is not great in the position of the toe. Okay, then land on the inside part of the foot. Okay, so as we strike, we need to be pulling really down or back and out. Okay, so we want to be landing with this foot right up underneath the hip. Okay, for me, I'm a little bit outside. Okay, we want to be able to best that we can land with this foot underneath the hip. Okay, but the good thing about this is my force is going slightly out. It's good to be having your momentum going out. Okay, I'm just going a little bit too far out, but then we want to land on the inside, absorb. See how I didn't absorb near as well on that one? Or this one, I absorbed much better into the hip, was able to stick it a lot better with my ankle. Well, watch this one. Here, I land. Okay, I'm landing on the inside, but I absorb a lot more through my foot. So now my heel drops. My knee doesn't really externally rotate, but now that's going to make it so my foot contact time's a lot longer. We'll go back to this one. Knee coming in well. Good. Toe coming up. Good. Those are both good. Landing on the inside part of the foot. That's not bad. Absorbing too much through the ankle, right? Not getting my hips to be able to externally rotate or doing that late, okay? And that's going to make it so my foot contact time is not as good. So I'm generating good force into the ground based off of this, but I'm not getting great foot contact time. So those are really the 4 critical components to be able to accelerate well. The next big thing that I would say is being able to get a good understanding of how to be able to properly transition from that. So what happens here is like the first 3 steps need to be very fast. There's like a certain rhythm where it's like 1, 2, 3, we got to be quick. Now we want to be able to really start to emphasize getting those hips through and starting to get that chest up, so we're transitioning into that acceleration phase and starting to gain more speed. Okay, so as we're going into this, we want to be able to now focus on being able to get those hips through. Okay, and as I'm doing this here, I want to be able to continue to get my chest up more and more, keep my chin tucked, right? We don't want to end up popping up quick within the head. We don't want to end up being too far back. We don't want to pop up our chest so much that our hips end up being far back. We got to be able to bring our hips through. As we're more effectively bring our hips through, then our chest continues to get higher and higher. And an important thing too that we want to be able to consider here is, And I see this a lot where people end up crossing their feet over behind a ton. And I think a lot of that has to do with when you're landing and crossing over during the landing, right? So if my foot here is landing more instead of underneath my hip, right? If I'm landing more on the middle part of my body, right? Or if I'm hitting the ground with my weight going out to in, where I should be going in to out, right? Landing on the inside part of my foot and absorbing to the outside part of my foot and then transitioning off from there. If I'm doing it the other side where I'm landing with my weight going on the outside part of my foot and then transitioning in, or if my foot is crossing over too much, and I've made videos about this, then those end up being reasons why we end up crossing over a ton with our feet back behind us. We don't want our foot to come across the other leg. We got to be able to maintain a good position within our feet as we're accelerating. And I say that just because if you're watching yourself go and run, you want to be able to see what you're doing and be able to understand is this correct? Is this not correct? How can I get better? And that's why I'm really making this video, so you can get a better understanding of what to do there to help you be able to more effectively accelerate. So as always, guys, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, you can leave those in the comments down below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel,